My trip began in Italy. Everything was beautiful. The scenery, the sculptures, the people. I got my first tattoo here with a man named Federico, who started every sentence with allora. It means look, listen, now, and okay, all at the same time. A fill-in word that means nothing and everything all at once.
Oh my gosh, I love
Before
it.
giving me my tattoo, he insisted on getting espresso at the piazza, from a woman with sparkly eyeshadow who taught everyone in my study abroad how to order gelato in Italian. It was a Saturday, when everyone in the town gathered at the same place. Strangers would greet each other like friends, and children would play on the playground while their parents talked on the benches that lined the long walkway, shrouded by trees. Lithuania is where my best friend is from. This is where her family is, but not where she lives most of the time. She lives in Boston, and I've gone to see her there too, but that's another story. Lithuania was the place that most reminded me of where I was born. Blue skies and wide lakes, where it would rain for only 10 minutes at a time before the sun would come back out again. She showed me the food that was native to her country, and we played with clams and snails on the dock at her grandfather's lake house. It felt too soon when I had to leave this place. There was a brief time that I was homeless in Germany. The place that I had booked canceled on me as the plane landed, so I took a train to the center of Munich and sat down in front of an Apple store until the clubs were closing, trying desperately to find somewhere to stay. Eventually, I found an overpriced hostel and slept there, able to book a new Airbnb for the rest of the time that I was there. Between visits to the zoo and trying to find a good place to try schnitzel, my Airbnb host would invite me to her yoga class, or even just breakfast with her family. When I had to leave, she looked tearful and told me to let her know if I ever came back. Austria was peaceful for the first day that I was there. I took a day of rest and planned out what I would do for the rest of the trip, mapping out tram schedules and event times. After a day at the Schmetterling house, I came back to discover an infestation of flying ants in my windowsill. I pulled my belongings into the hallway, along with a few flying ants, and did my best to get in contact with my Airbnb host. It was a few hours before she arrived and vacuumed them all up, and I stayed in her room until the next night came. We set out honey and waited patiently for the ants to show us their hiding place, and we talked about everything from conflicts with religion to the American government to different experiences that we have had in each country. I told her that I was designing tattoos for each country that I have been in, and mentioned that I was thinking of getting a tattoo of an ant with butterfly wings. She laughed and shook her head at me, saying, "No way." I laughed too, but I got the tattoo anyways. Prague was only on my list of places to visit because of how much it was discussed in movies and books. Surprisingly, I was very unimpressed with the city until the very last day that I was there. I had spent my day at Prague Castle, the dancing house, and the square surrounding the astronomical clock, and was on my way to a boat tour when I ran into a string quartet. They were playing in the doorway of the library with people sitting on stairs on the curb across the street listening to them. It wasn't long before more people had gathered, and it started pouring down rain onto all of us. It seemed like the whole crowd decided at once to gather on the stairs inside the alcove in which the quartet was playing rather than abandon them. The room was warm, filled with beautiful music and the sound of rain from outside. In Amsterdam, I stayed in a room that was as tall as I was. After a very heavy day of visiting Anne Frank's house and touring the house of a dead artist, I met a Russian girl on a boat. We ended up going to a gay bar together, and she was very straight and very nervous, but we ended up having fun regardless. I didn't eat a Belgian waffle in Belgium. It wasn't for lack of trying, trust me, but I couldn't even find one store that sold them. Every now and again, someone would walk past me with one, and I would search and come up empty-handed and empty-stomached. There was surprisingly little to do there, and I spent most of the time in a planetarium. On my way there, I discovered a small park titled Mini Europa. Inside were small buildings and landmarks from each place in Europe. I was able to walk through and visit the places to which I had already been. Italy, Lithuania, Germany, the Netherlands, Austria, the Czech Republic. I recognized things from each place, but still had France and England to explore. I've always heard about Paris, a beautiful travel destination, the home of the Mona Lisa, and especially because of the Eiffel Tower. I went to all of these things and was joined by friends who happened to be traveling there as well. It felt odd to be with people who knew me after so long of being around strangers. Equally, it was a relief to be able to have a conversation in English without having to pass a translator back and forth occasionally. We arrived in England the night before the Pride Parade in Brighton. This was the one and only reason I ended my trip here, and I was not disappointed. The feeling at the Pride Parade was the same thing that I felt in the alcove in Prague or in the piazza on Saturday morning in Italy. Warm, welcomed, happy. People would come up and hug you for no reason, and everyone seemed to be your friend. At the end of the trip, I felt homesick. Not for America, where I'm from, but for all the places I had just been. Where I was helped by so many and traded life stories back and forth with people I may never see again. On the plane, it didn't feel like I was going home. I thought traveling would be about the things that you would see, but it's not. Mini Europa couldn't show the people that you would meet along the way. The families that would take you into their homes, or the tired cashier trying to give you directions to the train station in broken Spanish. Home can be anywhere, with anyone. All that matters is that you get lost enough to find it.